What's up everybody? Today's video is a highly valuable one, especially for you guys who want to make more money in live poker. This video was available only for my students and also for the members of the channel. By the way, if you want to become a member of the channel, you just have to follow the instructions. Probably the link is in the description. So you can become a member and you will have access to many other videos like this one, like my ebook, The Profitable Poker Player, 6 Principles for Success in Poker, and other ones. So I highly recommend you to consider becoming a member. So enough of talking and let's go to the video. What's up everybody? I hope you're doing well. And in today's video I got a gift for you. I'm gonna tell you what would be my complete strategy to beat low stakes games in the United States. So any 1-2, 1-3, 2-3, the cheapest game in the casino, I'm gonna tell you what would be my strategy to beat those games so you can have a better results in your game. And here you go. The first thing I would do is I would choose the best game I could find. So let's say I live in Los Angeles and I want to find the best game I could find in Los Angeles. I would most likely find a game that I can buy in deep and that the rake is reasonable. So most likely it would be a 2-3 no limit hold'em with max buy of 500 or 400 that I would choose. I would choose the biggest game I could. So for example, in Texas that the games are deeper, I would choose a very deep game. I would also look at my bankroll. Let's say I have $5,000 bankroll that many of you probably have something like that. I would play with $500 buying or $400 buying. So $5,000 would give me at least 10 buy-ins. That's what I do. So I would choose the best game I could find and I would buy in for the max. That's the second step. I would choose the best game I could find and I would buy in for the max so I could play deep stack because my post-flop game is better than the people on the average in the low stakes games. And remind yourself one thing, guys. This is the cheapest game in the casino. So in the cheapest game in the casino, there will be very bad players. Players that are there only to have fun, only to gamble. And that's great for the game and that's great for you because you will have an edge over those players and you're going to have a big win rate over those players. So that's even more important for you to have a deep stack so you can maximize your profits over those people. So the third thing I would do, I would play tight aggressive pre-flop and I would prioritize hands that I have robust equity. And to explain robust equity, you got to understand that there are some hands in your range that remain strong even when the pot has 1,000 big blinds and goes to the river, like a nut flush draw, like a king high flush draw, like a queen high flush draw, like a set, while ace king offsuit, for example, is a great hand, but it doesn't carry so much robust equity because on future streets, if you still have your top pair when you're in a 500 big blind pot, 800 big blind pot, in a big pot, top pair is usually not going to be enough. So what I mean by prioritizing hands with robust equity is this. This is supposed to be my range from the under the gun with 100 big blinds open raise. But what I could do here is instead of not open raising this ace-3 suited, ace-2 suited, that when I have the flush, I'm going to have the nut flush, I could, instead of folding those hands and open raising some of those hands right here, 7-6 suited, 70.5% of the time, I would simply not raise those hands because I'm playing 200 big blinds deep. I'm playing really deep. And I would prioritize hands with robust equity like ace-3 suited, even the ace-2 suited. All the pocket 8s I would open raise, pocket 7 I would open raise, pocket 6s I would open raise. Remember you guys, this is the under the gun range in a 9-handed table. So you're supposed to be tight. But if you're going to choose hands to open raise, prioritize hands with robust equity. That's under my strategy that I would have at the low stakes. And why would I do that? It's because when I find myself in a cooler, in a big cooler that would happen, because I'm prioritizing hands with robust equity into my range, most of the time I get into a cooler, I'm going to be in the good side of the cooler. So while a bunch of players are just flat calling their 8-5 suited, 8-6 suited, 8-7 suited, they are playing with a bunch of hands that doesn't have so much robust equity and they are playing deep, I would do the opposite. I would be strategic on what hands I would choose to have in my range so I can make a lot of profit into coolers sometimes when they happen, and I would be the one that would be in the right side of the cooler, the winning side. But in my pre-flop strategy, I would more often than not have a 3-bet or fold strategy or open raise. So here, under the gun, I'm going to open raise. But let's say someone open raises. If someone open raises and I'm in the under the gun +1, low jack, high jack, cutoff, small blind, I will 3-bet or fold. So I'm going to have kind of this range right here. Always remembering, prioritizing robust equity, so you wouldn't see me 3-betting 8-7 suited from the under the gun +1. Why? Because the robust equity from 8-7 suited is not so robust as the ace-3 suited. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to 3-bet more often the ace-3 suited, ace-4 suited, ace-5 suited, even the 9s, 8s, 7s, 6s, and I'm not going to use those hands right here because they don't have so much robust equity. But I would have a 3-bet or fold strategy, and that's pretty much what GTO advises. GTO plays really tight aggressive pre-flop, and it's tight and really aggressive. So you can see here that GTO only 3-bets or fold, which is interesting and is something that I do in the table. And the reason why I would do more often in the games that I chosen is because those games, they don't charge rake pre-flop. So when I 3-bet pre-flop, someone open raises, I 3-bet, everybody folds, I'm gonna win the whole pot without paying rake. So that's gonna bring a better result to my win rate. So that's partly a reason why I would 3-bet or fold, and the other reason is because when I 3-bet or fold, when I 3-bet, my range is gonna be strong, and it's gonna usually be stronger than the range from the guy that open raise. And by having a stronger range, it makes my life easier post-flop to represent a good hand, or to extract maximum value with a hand that I actually have when I go to the post-flop, because a big part of your income, of your winnings in poker, are going to be from post-flop, and another part is going to be from pre-flop. We are covering the pre-flop part strategy, but we're going to go through the post-flop. But your post-flop game is very connected to your pre-flop strategy. Like, what hands are you deciding to play from each position? So what is your perceived range in terms of what comes in the flop? That comes range advantage, nut advantage, that we're gonna talk about it on later streets. Now, the last thing about my pre-flop strategy is that I know my range. For example, you're seeing the under the gun +1 range versus open raise from under the gun. So this is it. But I would deviate my range depending on what players I'm playing against. The better are the players, the less often I'm gonna play versus him. And the worse are the players, the more often I'm gonna play versus them. So let's say I'm in the hijack here. Everybody folds to me. Let's say everybody folds to me in the hijack. And this is supposed to be kind of my range from the hijack. So I'm supposed to open raise 21.2% of the hands. I would normally in a 1-2, 1-3, 2-3 table open raise around 26, 27% of my range. So I would open raise all the 5s, all the 4s, all the 3s, more deuces, but I would open raise more often. But let's say I'm in the hijack and big blind is a very bad player. Let's say big blind is a very bad player who is going to overcall me, who is going to play really bad post flop. So what I'm going to tend to do, I'm going to tend to want to play more hands versus this guy. So instead of having a 21.2% range from the hijack, what I can do is I can decide to open raise 35% of my range. So I'm going to open raise Queen 7 suited, Queen 6 suited. I'm going to open raise Ace 8 suited, Ace 5 offsuit. I'm going to open raise all the pocket pairs. But why am I doing that? I'm deviating my pre-flop range to the players I'm playing against and to the tendencies of what can happen. So that's what I would do. I would have my pre-flop range. I would know very well my pre-flop ranges. I would be very strategic about what hands I want to have in those ranges. But I'm going to deviate depending on what the table presents. Because sometimes the table is going to be really soft. It's going to have a lot of bad players on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to maximize my profits over those targets, over those bad players. So that's why I would have a very solid knowledge about my pre-flop ranges, but I would know how to deviate to exploit those guys. Now coming to post-flop now. The thing that you need to have the biggest win rate you can at low stakes like 1-2, 1-3, 2-3, you need to have fundamentals. But the most important, in my opinion, for you to have a very big win rate is for you to be good at exploiting others, at adapting to their play. So one thing I would have in my strategy, I would always try to be really aware of what is the level of thought of my opponent. Because if I'm thinking about range advantage, nut advantage, and how many bluffs do I have to have here, while the other guy is just looking at his cards and folding when he doesn't have nothing, and calling when he has something, I'm just using the wrong strategy versus that guy because he's playing face up. He's folding when he doesn't have it, and he's calling when he has it. So what I should do versus this guy is actually, if I have a good hand, I gotta ask myself, does this guy has a good hand and he's gonna call me? Yes. So I'm gonna bet here. How much I'm gonna bet? I'm gonna bet as much as I can bet to extract the most from him because I'm most likely winning. While if I have a bluff and I say the same thing, this guy is most likely gonna call, I'm gonna have to underbluff. I'm not gonna have to bluff versus this guy because I think he's gonna call. So that's me adapting to his game and being aware of what is the level of thought of this guy so I can maximize my profits. For you to have the biggest win rate you can at low stakes, which is the lowest stakes in the casino, you gotta be very good at exploiting people. And that was under my strategy, and that would still be under my strategy. I wouldn't be the GTO guy play 1-2, 1-3, 2-3 because those guys are not thinking exactly about balancing the range or whatever. They are impatient. They are trying to have fun. They are trying to bluff the good player. They are trying whatever they are trying. And my goal is to perceive what they are doing, understand that, and be able to adapt to it so I can exploit. And another thing you need to understand is the better you are at post flop, the more you can play your hands pre-flop. So the better you are, the biggest is your edge post-flop, the more hands you should have in your range from the under the gun, or from the under the gun +1, or from the under the gun +2. Like if you're a bad player post-flop, or if you don't trust so much your game post-flop, what you should do is stick to what you should be playing pre-flop, and just by doing that, you're gonna make profit little by little post-flop as well because your hand selection pre-flop already gives you an edge versus the other players that are playing with a bunch of crap. But if you get to the level that you understand range advantage, that you understand nut advantage, that you know how to bluff, that you know how to put pressure, that you know how to extract value, that you know how to fold, when you become very good at your post-flop game, you can play more hands pre-flop because your edge allows you to do that. So another thing I would have in my strategy is always be studying, always wanted to go up in stakes. I already did, like in the beginning of this channel, we played 1-2, 1-3. We played those games. Nowadays we're playing higher, and that's natural, but that's step by step. You shouldn't be in a hurry to go up in stakes. Beat your stakes first. If you make more than 10 big blinds an hour in those low stakes, you are crushing. There are players that are making more than that. I was a player that made more than 20 big blinds an hour, but that goes in the first part. You gotta choose the game you want to play. You gotta choose the best game you want to play. So if you are from Texas, for example, there's a bunch of 1-3 games that are really deep. So you can, for example, choose a 1-3 game that you're gonna buy in for 1,000, but it's 1-3 the game. So you have 300 big blinds. So what are you gonna do? Here, that you, with 100 big blinds, you open raise this range. With 300 big blinds, you can open raise more often the 8s, the 7s, the ace-3 suited, and that goes to the low jack, to the other ranges as well. In case you have any questions, feel free to leave it down below that I'm happy to respond. I do my best to respond those questions. This is gonna be the end of this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe to this channel. The mission of this channel is helping you become a better poker player, and see you next time.